You ask an AI one of those complicated multi-step questions, and it just kind of gets lost halfway through.
Mm-hmm. Very frustrating.
Very.
Super frustrating. And that seems to be exactly what GPT-5 is tackling first and foremost. The first big stride seems to be this structured reasoning, this deeper thinking.
Right. Unlike GPT-4o, which, really focused on speed.
Yeah, it was fast.
It was very fast. GPT-5 seems to prioritize deep reasoning and chain of thought execution. That's the term they're using. The sources say it can literally, think in steps, revise its own conclusions, and even justify its outputs.
Think in steps, revise. That's interesting.
It is. And the really fascinating part, users can actually ask for this explicitly with prompts like, think hard about this.
Just tell it to think hard.
Yeah, basically. And that's a pretty significant shift because it lets the model tackle complex problems in a much more, methodical way. Almost like how a person might chew on a tough problem, Slow down, work through it.
Okay, giving it permission to take its time.
Yeah.
I like that. So if it can think hard on a problem, what about how it perceives the world? Seeing, hearing,
Right.
the multimodal stuff.
Sources suggest that's also had a major upgrade, going beyond even GPT-4's real-time text, image, voice processing, which was already pretty impressive.
It was. But now we're apparently seeing much more fluent transitions between those modes and, importantly, better accuracy, especially on vision tasks.
Better vision. Okay.
And what's really fascinating here, looking ahead, is the future integration. GPT-5 is actually structured to support native video processing.
Native video. Wow.
Yeah, it's a clear step towards integrating fully with tools like OpenAI's text-to-video model, SRO.
Ah, okay. So connecting the dots there.
Exactly. Think about it. Interacting with text, images, audio, even video, all in real time, same system. You could, point your phone at something and have the AI analyze it, narrate it, maybe even suggest edits on the fly, seamlessly.
Yeah, that opens a lot of possibilities. And this seems to lead right into what, for me, feels like one of the biggest shifts overall. This idea of autonomous AI agent functionality.
The agent aspect.
Yeah. Our sources are really suggesting GPT-5 is moving beyond just being a chatbot. It's stepping into the role of an autonomous AI agent. Can you flesh that out? What does that really look like day to day? What kind of tasks?
Well, if we try and connect this to the bigger picture, right?
Yeah.
It means GPT-5 is really expected to handle things like task execution, integrating with different services, automating workflows,
Okay.
which fundamentally changes the AI from just, a tool that responds into something much more active in, say, business operations.
More proactive.
Exactly. Imagine an AI that doesn't just answer your question about a client, but then, maybe without you even asking, it drafts a follow-up email, schedules the meeting, pulls up their purchase history.
Right. Doing the next steps.
That's the leap. From assistant to more of a maybe collaborative agent, it can complete these multi-step tasks pretty independently by hooking into external tools, APIs, other digital platforms, and potentially with minimal user input needed for each step.
So less about just question and answer, more about actual collaboration on tasks. That does feel like a huge shift.
It is.
And beyond just doing things, there's this dramatic expansion in its memory and context, right? We're seeing numbers like a 400,000 token context window.
That's the figure, yeah. 400,000 tokens, which is a massive upgrade from GPT-4o's 128,000. And the output window is also large at 128,000 tokens.
Okay, 400,000 tokens.
Yeah.
For those of us not constantly counting tokens, can you give us a quick analogy? Like, are we talking feeding it a novel, a whole stack of reports?
Yeah, good question. Think of it maybe like this. GPT-4o could sort of read and hold in its short-term memory, maybe a couple of decent-sized books or a pretty chunky report.
Okay.
GPT-5, with 400,000 tokens, it can effectively read and keep track of the information from, maybe a small library's worth of text or multiple large company manuals all at once.
Small library.
Wow.
And the really practical benefit there is what they're calling persistent memory.
Persistent memory, right.
Which means GPT-5 can actually remember project details, conversation history across different sessions. You don't have to constantly re-explain everything. That's huge. No more Groundhog Day with the AI.
Exactly. It should allow for much more coherent, extended discussions. Really retaining information from large documents or long chat histories, like a project you might work on over weeks.
Okay, that persistent memory, combined with the context window, that sounds incredibly useful.
Yeah.
Now, let's tackle something that's been, a major headache for users in the past. Hallucinations.
The factual errors.
Yeah. Our sources definitely highlight that reducing these errors, improving accuracy, was a huge priority for GPT-5. And some of those numbers on reduction look genuinely impressive.
They are quite striking.
But digging into the sources, are there still scenarios where it struggles or, specific data types where human oversight is still absolutely critical despite these big improvements?
That's a really important question. And yes, while the improvements are significant, it's definitely not perfect. But the data is compelling. GPT-5 apparently produces 45% fewer factual errors than GPT-4o on average.
45%.
And that jumps up to 80% fewer errors when that deeper reasoning mode is specifically triggered.
Wow, 80% reduction with thinking hard.
Yeah, it's being called the most reliable and factual model yet.
Yeah.
Under 1% hallucination reported on open source prompts, and those can be really varied and tricky.
Under 1% is low.
Very low. And even on really hard medical cases, things from the HealthBench dataset, it's showing just 1.6% hallucination. Compare that to GPT-4o, which was apparently around 15.8% on the same set.
15.8 down to 1.6. That's
Yeah.
huge for something like medicine.
Absolutely. And remember that thinking mode we talked about.
Yeah.
Just enabling that deeper internal reasoning. That alone can apparently drop error rates on real-world traffic from something like 11.6% down to 4.8%.
Okay.
So yeah, human oversight, always recommended, especially for high-stakes stuff, but the baseline reliability seems to be at a whole new level.
And to kind of manage all this power, OpenAI has released GPT-5 not just as one model, but as a series of specialized variants, right? Tailored for different jobs.
That's right, a family of models.
So you've got the main GPT-5, that's for the heavy lifting logic, multi-step tasks, deep reasoning.
The powerhouse.
Then there's GPT-5 Mini. Sounds like the lightweight, maybe cost-effective option. Good for speed and efficiency.
Exactly. Lighter, faster, cheaper.
And GPT-5 Nano, even faster. Ultra-low latency, it says, for almost instant responses.
Yeah, think real-time applications, edge computing maybe?
And finally, GPT-5 Chat. This one sounds geared towards, well, conversations. Advanced, natural, multimodal, multilingual, context-aware, especially for enterprise use.
Right. Optimized for that rich interactive dialogue experience, potentially handling multiple languages and modalities smoothly within a business context. When you actually look at the performance benchmarks they've released, these improvements aren't just, words on paper. They're pretty concrete.
Go ahead, give us some highlights.
Well, take math. GPT-5 Pro, using Python tools, apparently scored a perfect 100% accuracy on the AIME 2025 benchmark.
Wait, 100% on AIM, the math competition.
The American Invitational Mathematics Examination? Yeah. Highly challenging, normally for top high school math students. Hitting 100% there signals a really serious capability for complex, multi-step mathematical reasoning.
That's honestly hard to wrap my head around.
And get this. Its thinking mode alone, without using any external tools, boosted the base model's performance on that from 71% up to 99.6%.
Almost perfect, even without the tools.
Nah.
Okay, so it's a math whiz. What about reasoning, like really complex, maybe abstract problems?
Similar leaps there.
Okay.
On something called GPQA Diamond, these are PhD-level science questions, really tough stuff requiring deep understanding.
Right.
GPT-5 Pro, again with Python tools, scored 89.4%, and the thinking mode helped the base GPT-5 jump from 77.8% to 85.7% on those incredibly difficult problems.
Okay, PhD-level science,
Uh-huh.
almost 90%. That's impressive. And for coding, programmers are always keen to know how these models perform.
Yeah, for code, it seems to be leading the academic benchmarks. Things like SWE Bench Verified, it got 74.9%, and Aider Polyglot, 88%. Both of those are with the thinking mode enabled.
What do those benchmarks test, roughly?
SWE Bench Verified is about fixing real bugs in actual software projects. Aider Polyglot tests how well it works across different programming languages.
So fixing real bugs across languages, that's got to be useful for developers.
A potential game changer. Yeah.
Definitely. And just circling back quickly to reliability, you mentioned the medical cases earlier, that 1.6% hallucination rate.
Right, 1.6% on the hard medical cases in HealthBench, compared to, again, 15.8% for GPT-4o. In critical fields like medicine, that kind of improvement towards dependability is, well, it's fundamental. It could make AI a much more trustworthy assistant for doctors, researchers.
A trustworthy assistant in medicine.
Yeah.
Yeah, truly transformative potential there. And what about this thing called humanity's last exam? Sounds dramatic. Some set of super hard, expert-level questions.
Yeah, it's designed to test really advanced reasoning. On that, GPT-5 Pro, using its tools and reasoning abilities, scored 42% accuracy. That might not sound super high, but it apparently nearly doubled the score of the previous best OpenAI model, O3.
Double the score. Okay, so it's pushing the boundaries even on the really tough, cutting-edge reasoning tasks.
Seems like it. Shows it can engage with knowledge at a much deeper level than we've seen before from AI.
So how on earth did they achieve all this? What's the training process look like? Any hints about the secret sauce?
Well, the sources mention a mix of techniques. There's supervised fine-tuning, SFT, the usual reinforcement learning from human feedback, RLHF.
Standard stuff.
Yeah, but also mentions of new supervision techniques, which sounds intriguing but isn't fully detailed. And it definitely leveraged massive infrastructure. Microsoft's AI platform and NVIDIA's latest GPUs were specifically called out. Huge compute power involved.
What, a massive engineering effort, no doubt. And what about safety? I mean, with a model this capable, the safeguards, the ethical considerations, they become even more critical, don't they?
Absolutely. And OpenAI seems to be emphasizing a more proactive and rigorous safety framework this time.
How so?
Things like real-time detection of uncertainty, so the model might know when it's unsure. Built-in safeguards against misusing sensitive information. Integrated ethical behavior.
Okay.
And interestingly, it's apparently designed to lean towards giving partially helpful answers rather than just refusing outright when it hits a boundary. And crucially, to communicate its own limitations more honestly.
Being honest about what it can't do, that feels like a key step for trust.
Exactly. It's not just about preventing bad outputs. It seems aimed at building a more responsible AI partner from the ground up.
That said, despite all these incredible advances, we have to talk limitations. It's crucial, right?
Yeah.
Everything we've seen points to this. GPT-5 is not artificial general intelligence. It's not AGI.
Correct. Absolutely essential to state that clearly.
It's still fundamentally based on pattern recognition, not true understanding or consciousness. So for all the amazing leaps, it's not going to pass a deep philosophical Turing test anytime soon.
Precisely. It's incredibly sophisticated pattern matching and generation. And while hallucinations are significantly reduced, they're still possible. We mentioned that.
Right.
And it still relies heavily on clear prompts from humans. And human oversight remains critical, especially in important applications. Plus, the computational cost running these massive models that might still be a barrier for smaller teams or individuals, at least initially. So at the end of the day, it's best seen as an incredibly powerful tool, an assistant, a collaborator, but not a replacement for human judgment or expertise. It's a partner, not a substitute. And, this raises an important question for the future.
So wrapping this up, what does this all mean for you listening right now? Well, GPT-5 really does seem to represent a substantial evolution, a major step.
Definitely.
It's bringing together that advanced reasoning, the multimodal processing, those new autonomous agent capabilities, all into one unified, more reliable system. And with that vastly expanded memory we talked about, it feels like more than just a smarter chatbot. It feels like a foundational shift in what AI can actually do.
I agree. And perhaps for you, as you think about these advancements, maybe in your own life, your own work, here's a final thought to maybe chew on. With these new autonomous agent capabilities in GPT-5, how do you see that line shifting? The line between AI as just a tool you command and AI as potentially a more independent partner that anticipates needs, executes tasks. How might that change things for you? And what new questions does that raise about, well, human oversight, collaboration, trust in this evolving landscape?
Powerful questions indeed. Lots to think about there. Keep exploring, keep reflecting on these advancements, and thanks as always for diving deep with us.